This is your daily dose of all things royal. All right, folks, let's tear Harry's so-called inspiring opening speech at Invictus to shreds, shall we? Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. The nerve of this man to stand there and act like he's some sort of messiah is honestly unbelievable.
In this moment of difficulty and division in many parts of the world, we gather here in Vancouver in a spirit of unity.
Have you ever noticed that Harry is always doom and gloom, always driving that fear? Never once during the Invictus Games do they ever talk about stopping the wars, stopping the fighting. Nope, this is all about unity. We come here to play some games while I make money off of you, while you keep the war machine going, and we'll be back again here next year. The way that I see this organization now is the whole point is to bring back these veterans to boost the morale, because nobody wants war, and all these people have been affected negatively by it. But who benefits? The very same sponsors that are sponsoring Invictus. You have Boeing, Raytheon, you have Better Up. You also have NATO backing and supporting it. NATO is the one who wants to continue the war in Ukraine. I mean, it's just like bring these veterans back, boost their morale, and say, you know what, you have purpose. What you did for your country was needed, and we need to keep fighting so we can protect democracy while we continue to make money off of you. It really is so deplorable that this is the scam now that we see Invictus Games to become, because they're all making money. You know who's not making money? These veterans. These veterans who they are exploiting is not getting a thing aside from, oh, Harry's going to give you a medal so you can feel special. This is like so incredibly disgusting.
Beyond any differences, here at the Invictus Games, we are grounded in mutual respect, supporting one another and rooting for one another.
So as Harry is giving this speech on the stage, one of the teams that's up close and in his face is the UK. And you can see that Harry knows their presence and they are not giving him the respect that he feels he deserves, even though he abandoned king and country.
Sacred obligation after my own decade and privilege of military service to do whatever I could to help my fellow brothers and sisters heal, and to champion everything that we stand for.
We're going to get into this a little bit more later on because Harry does indeed notice it. But let's just say the UK veterans sent a clear message here. So more on that a little later on, so stick around. Make no mistake, this guy is disliked. Disliked in the US, disliked in Canada, disliked in the UK. He's disliked everywhere. So why are we talking about this fool? While we could pretend it doesn't matter, since many believe this guy has no real influence in the United States, that's exactly how these so-called elites have managed to get away with everything so far. It's because most people just sit back and do nothing. And for Americans, we should be downright furious that our wounded veterans are being used as pawns in these games, and no one is allowed to watch it in the United States. Did you all know that the United States has one of the largest, if not the largest, group of participants competing in this game? And yet, America is not allowed to watch our own veterans go out and compete? But of course, people in Canada, Ukraine, the UK, Nigeria, Australia, and many other countries are able to access it, but the United States is not. Why are we not getting more angry about this? Like, it's so frustrating to me that I keep screaming and I feel like nobody is listening to anything that I have to say here. But this is so wrong on so many levels and such an insult to our military and our veterans. It's so disrespectful. Don't you think that Americans want to support and cheer on our own veterans in an event like this? Of course. Is it because they're making political statements that are taking shots at our current new president? I think so. Here is what this little ginger whinger didn't want not only Americans, but Donald Trump to hear.
At this moment, when there is no shortage of crises, no absence of uncertainty, no lack of weak moral character in the world.
Like, how could you say that with a straight face, Harry? You're the one who lacks any kind of moral character for all the shitty things that you have done the past 6 years. And you did it to your own family nonetheless. So how could you stand up there and virtue signal like this when you yourself are the one that you're actually describing? That sounded to me like a clapback to Donald Trump for calling his wife terrible. Now, also during this opening ceremony, there was a Canadian politician who proceeded to get up on stage and take shots at our current administration. Now, if you've been living under a rock the last week and a half, there has been dialogue going back and forth pertaining to tariffs and our border, something that Canada is not happy about. But they decide to bring it to this stage. And what was really dirty and underhanded here was panning over to the United States team to show cheering and in support of the things that this politician was saying. And I believe that that was deliberate. Take a look.
Behind me, we've got our friends from the United States who are here today. And look, I know our countries are having a moment right now, right? But there is not a person here, there is not a Canadian that does not know that our soldiers have fought and died and cried and celebrated beside Americans for generations. And I'll tell you as a politician that it doesn't matter what the politicians say. Because if you need us, you just say the word, USA. And you know what? If we ever need you, and it came down to it, I know you'd be there in a second.
And whatever the politicians say, and that pregnant pause to show the U.S. cheering on, as if in defiance of our newly elected president. I think this was disgusting. Maybe this is the real reason why they chose not to broadcast this in the United States. It's a bit weak and petty, don't you think?
To do whatever I could to help my fellow brothers and sisters heal, and to champion everything that we stand for.
Harry and Meghan are literally the masters of gaslighting and virtue signaling. Here Harry is standing up there saying he made a promise 10 years ago that he would help his fellow comrades heal. Harry has not given a dime to this organization. Instead, he and his wife are take, and grifting off the backs of these veterans for putting on this whole show. It's so gross and vulgar.
Over the past decade, I've lost count of the times that we've heard you tell us that the Invictus Games saved you. Respectfully, I disagree. Invictus didn't save you. You saved yourself.
I don't know if Harry realizes it or not, but he just outed himself. So what's the point of having Invictus if the athletes are doing it on their own without any help from you?
It was you who pushed through the doubt and despair. You who summited your own mountain and brought us along with you.
And these vultures gladly jumped on so they could make money. You see this guy's expression? He knows that this is a grift.
It was you who kept going even when you didn't think you had any more to give.
I mean, look at the expressions. They know this guy is full of shit.
The games simply reveal what is already within you, that scarcest and most precious of the world's resources, character.
And that is something that this guy knows absolutely nothing about. You can tell that people are just not impressed with this prince walking around virtue signaling at them.
For one of the most powerful ways of healing comes not from the hospital or recovery center, but from having a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, from being a part.
Watch Australia's face again. They know this guy's full of shit.
of something greater than ourselves. And that healing, though it begins with you, extends to your children and loved ones.
Watch this guy in the corner. He can't listen to this anymore. We get it. We know.
And the simple gift of seeing you smile once again, of knowing your mind isn't someplace else,
I don't know, Harry. It looks like this guy wants to be at the bar right now.
and that you are fully present.
I mean, do any of these people look happy listening to this fool? They look miserable.
Your leadership did not end when you stepped off the battlefield or took off the uniform. It endures. The example you set is a compass for the world. We need you, and will always need you. Once asked Nobel laureate Toni Morrison how we survive whole in the world. And she replied, "Sometimes you don't survive whole, you just survive in part. But the grandeur of life is that attempt. It's not about that solution. It is about being as fearless as one can and behaving as beautifully as one can."
Like, what the hell is he talking about? This really sounds like a word salad that Meghan put together. Most likely it is word salad that Meghan put together because you could see everybody's reaction. They look bored to tears and just not interested in this garbage.
Under completely impossible circumstances. As we embark on this year's competition, here is my challenge to all of you. Show the world how you behave.
This is absolutely priceless. Harry is up there grandstanding about courage and unwavering commitment because, you know, he was in the military while the UK looks on right in front of him, unimpressed and shooting pretty much daggers his way. And this is the best. You have one that doesn't even want to look at him. He's sitting there with his face turned away from Harry as he's speaking.
Under completely impossible circumstances. Show the world your fearlessness. Show the world
The UK team can't even look at Harry. I mean, how can Harry stand there preaching about duty after abandoning the Queen, then the King, and the entire country? Is nothing short of a masterclass in self-delusion. The UK team's faces say it all right here. Irritated, disinterested, and clearly not buying whatever he's selling on that stage, which really makes you wonder, why is the UK still bothering to take part in this spectacle?
Show the world the grandeur in your attempt at victory. Show the world why you are Invictus.
I think Harry felt those daggers because as he gets off the stage, he looks back. Oh, and what a shock. Another Invictus Games hijacked by Meghan's insatiable need to make everything about her. Rinse and repeat. The forced smiles, the hollow enthusiasm, the obvious effort to feign even the slightest bit of interest in veterans. It's also predictably superficial. And yet, despite the hand-holding, the staged affection, and this desperate attempt to brand herself as part of the Invictus family, there are cracks. The mask slips and you see it. That simmering resentment. Like, take for example this photo. Harry is being given some sort of gift. It looks like an ammunition box or a lunch box of some sort. And here Meghan is, all tensed up, trying to pretend and be happy for Harry, but you could see that she's simmering on the inside. I mean, look at her neck. It's like she is like holding on to all this tension because she is not the center of attention. You know that Meghan hates this. She hates that Harry still outshines her, that people, especially children, flock to him, bringing him gifts, while she's left awkwardly lingering in the background. She wants to be adored, like Catherine. She wants the effortless youth appeal Harry has, as well as the real royals. But the reality is painfully clear. These kids, as well as also adults, want to keep their distance. And who can blame them? Not only children have a sixth sense of spotting phonies, but they also know when to spot a predator. And Meghan, no doubt, is a predator. Then there's Miranda Barbeau. Remember the one in Nigeria who was so aggressive as she was trying to clear the way for King Harry to come through? Conveniently has been shadowing the Harkles at every U.S. military-linked event. For those unfamiliar, Barbeau was Obama's top PR strategist, the architect behind his second-term campaign. So why exactly does she keep popping up at these military-adjacent gatherings? Are the Harkles collecting intelligence? Shopping it around to the highest bidder? It's a valid question, especially given their deep ties to the same demon rat machine that has been spent the past 16 years looting the middle class to line their own pockets. Thankfully, Trump's win will put a temporary halt to their siphoning of American wealth, but make no mistake, Meghan's every move is calculated. Her newfound America first, or otherwise, I say, make me great again, and the sudden alignment with this war machine fueling the Ukraine? Transparent. Last year, it was all about Nigeria. This year, the Invictus team is left in the dust. Meghan couldn't even be bothered to be gracious enough to pose with Harry and these shirts that the Nigerian team had made for her two invisible children. Just shows how classless this woman is. And all of it that's being done here is strictly for PR, to improve their brand and image. No one with a functioning brain buys this act anymore. The people see through this facade, and there are definite cracks in this relationship. This is all performative. You know, I'd wager this is one of the few events Harry actually looks forward to, because for once, he gets to be around real people, not the vapid Hollywood elite Meghan surrounds herself with back in California. You know, the same crowd that has been steadily ghosting her one by one. At this point, Harry essentially is on his own. At Invictus, even as nothing more than a glorified mascot, he at least gets to experience some genuine human connection, something Meghan fundamentally lacks. And you can see the strain it puts on him. He has to constantly guide her through every interaction, hold her hand literally and figuratively, because she's hopeless at the whole so-called royaling thing. She just can't help making it all about herself, and there's no way that isn't wearing on him. The resentment that we see in a lot of these photos is palpable. Meghan has hijacked the one thing Harry had left, his connection to Invictus, and turned it into yet another platform for herself. You know, if we were to sit in Harry's shoes, how could you not resent someone who has systematically dismantled your whole entire life? Because essentially that's what Meghan did. It's honestly pathetic to witness just how far Harry has fallen in the eyes of the world, all because he married the wrong person. Whether or not Donald Trump had actually said that Meghan is terrible, definitely had to affect Harry and Meghan, because essentially the most powerful man in the world is calling Meghan out for her bullshit. So yeah, nobody's going to be crying. We're all cheering and saying, yeah, she is terrible. Maybe Meghan needs to check herself because she continues to keep wrecking herself with this bad behavior. And what is really irritating about Harry and Meghan too is that they complain about how cruel the online world is. Well, stop being such jerks. Then maybe people might start to say some nicer things about you guys. But when you hear about Meghan bullying people and staff quitting and what she did to the Queen, and then let's not forget the terror that they are promoting online with their Sussex squad, how could anybody like the two of you? Now, I think I speak for the majority of the population when we talk about Harry and Meghan's brand. Nothing that they do is going to improve or change the perception of the public. We see them as con artists, grifters, liars, and just all-out selfish people. The fact that they have yet to take any kind of accountability for the harm that they have caused not only to their families, but also to innocent people online. Doesn't matter how much money that you waste in this so-called rebranding yourself as kind, compassionate humanitarians, it's all going to fall flat every single time. And it's a shame too, because what started out so positive, especially with the help of your brother, Harry, has now turned into one complete circus where the veterans are not being focused on. All the reporting is about Meghan and what she's wearing, or, just talks about what Donald Trump has said about Meghan, has completely soured and overshadowed the true nature and purpose of this event. It's really to support these veterans. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about any of these veterans that have been competing, and that's sad. Shame on these two. Seriously, shame on these two. And I hope that more people will follow the UK team by turning their backs whenever these two walk into a room, because that's what they deserve. They had no class or courtesy for their own families. Why should the Invictus Games consider these two as part of the family? Kick them out. Kick them to the curb. That's my advice. But what do you guys think? What do you think about this whole gong show? Are you turned off just like how I am? And literally, once this is over, we turn around and we see Meghan again, because in less than 3 weeks is Meghan's With Love Meghan to show us how she can be the best friend everybody wants, or something to that effect, showing her how she's the hostess with the mostest. Nobody cares. We're already February 10th. Every single day this year since it started has been about this woman. Go away, Meghan, go away. Anyway, what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I was such a fraud.